One of the best things about having a stockpile is that I have foods ready to go whenever I need them. But today and every once in a while, you need to clean things out and get organized. So come along with me today as I clean out my kitchen pantries and get things reorganized. I'm starting here with my Lazy Susan, and these are just things that I use every day. I'm taking everything off of the shelves, and then I'm going to wipe down the shelves and the jars and put things back and get them reorganized here. As I was going through this cleaning process, I found myself thinking about how and why I started stockpiling as a Christian mom. This isn't something we talk about very often, but I think it's really important. I have always been naturally a frugal grocery shopper. I am the daughter of a pastor, and my mom stayed home with us. She was a very talented, still is a very talented church organist, and they made it a priority that she would be home with us. So I grew up in a frugal home. Grocery shopping was just part of who I was. Both of my grandpas were pastors. My grandmothers raised 7 kids being home, and they always had food on the shelves. We saw firsthand time and time again how God constantly provides for us. And I think that is important to clarify right from the beginning here. I have a stockpile not out of fear, but because of faith. I trust that God is going to take care of our family and that He is the one who holds the future and knows what is happening. But I also believe that part of having a life of faith and living a life of faith is that my husband and I, we are responsible for taking care of our family. It's a matter of what we call stewardship. In the Lutheran world, we use that word a lot. And it simply means that God has given us so many blessings. We need to take care of what we have been given and be responsible. It is our job as parents to take care of our family. This is why so many times I say that having a stockpile is really a practical emergency fund. It is making sure that I always have food on our shelves for our family, regardless of what happens. If there is a job loss, if something happens, if inflation keeps increasing, there is always food ready for us. Here I'm starting to put things back on the shelves now, wiping down these jars. I started using these jars a couple years ago, and I really do like having them. I'll leave a link to them in the description. They're an Archer canning jar. They screw on really tight. It keeps things organized, and it does allow the kids to get into different things. That's oatmeal that you see, and then these are a bunch of different crackers that our family enjoys here too. I'm just wiping down lids periodically. I run those jars through the dishwasher as they are empty. And I'm getting everything organized and back onto this Lazy Susan. The shelves don't always look super neat, but they are practical, and it does help me keep things organized, including all of the oils and the different things that our family uses on a regular basis here, whether it's our cooking oils and sprays. I try to keep those things grouped together here, and I'm just making sure everything can fit. This is truly a working pantry. It's not perfect, nor is anything that you see on this channel, because I'm just the girl next door. I'm another Christian mom here who is doing the best with what I have to be responsible with the blessings God has given me and to take care of my family in the best way that I know. And like I started saying earlier, one of those ways is having a stocked pantry, having a stockpile. I'm going to finish getting all of these spices back on the top shelf here, and then we're going to go on to the bottom shelf. I noticed the vinegar was empty, so I need to refill that. I do that a couple things. These are smaller jars here so that I can refill them, and I'll keep the big jars. Like I have a big jug of vinegar that I buy from Sam's, and I keep that in the basement or on another shelf, but then I refill smaller jars. I'll do that with vinegar or my olive oils, different things. It's more cost effective to do it that way. And so I'm always looking for different ways to save money and stretch our budget. And refilling jars, purchasing things that are more economical that way, that's one of the ways I keep our pantry stocked too. We'll go on to the bottom shelf. This bottom shelf now is more some of those things, the bigger bulk things. We have some hot chocolate here and my kids had braces, so we bought some of that Carnation instant breakfast to use. It's a bulk jar of popcorn, all of the things that, again, we just use on a regular basis. So I'm scrubbing all the shelves down with soap and water, and then I'm going to take them out. The shelf does seem to go faster because it is some of those bigger jars here. All of these things have evolved slowly. Even when I was adding these jars to our pantry, I just went out and bought a couple when I had money for them. And then when I freed up money or got some birthday money, I added a couple more jars. I have done all of this very slowly and intentionally and on a budget. That is how I live my life. That is just who I am. We are on a budget constantly, so I am always trying to stretch every dollar. If you don't have matching jars, that's okay. If you're using canning jars, that's fine. If you want to store things in boxes, great. Do whatever works for you. I think as moms, we can be very judgmental of ourselves and we think, oh, it needs to look so perfect. No, it doesn't. Perfection is never going to happen. And as Christian moms, we know that. We need to give ourselves grace and remember that we are doing the best we can with the skills and talents and gifts that God has given us. I'm going to start putting everything back again here. These are some convenience things you will see, some Lara bars and some prepackaged snacks. We really do not eat these very often. Some of these things were actually given to us or left over from some trick-or-treating or different things. So we're going to try to eat through those actually in the next couple weeks just to empty out those jars. We don't snack a whole lot, so I am trying to focus a little bit more on whole foods and healthy choices. The kids and I have just been talking about that a lot more. There is rice and pasta and quinoa. We do use those things quite a bit. I haven't convinced my kids to like quinoa yet, but I enjoy that. Get all these big jars. Some of these jars are the really big size, and they are great for storing hot chocolate on cold Saturday mornings in the winter. We live in northern Indiana. My kids love starting the day with a mug of hot chocolate. The younger ones split a mug so we don't have anything wasted, but we just like to start our days more slowly with that as we make homemade pancakes. It's kind of become our Saturday morning tradition, those little things. So I wanted to restock that there. And then we are not eating as much popcorn right now because unfortunately my older two kids are in expanders and braces. So to their everlasting chagrin, they are not allowed to eat popcorn. I had bought a 25-pound bag at Gordon's last year, and we were eating it pretty regularly. We are just not eating it as much right now. But popcorn is a very frugal snack option, so I love having it on hand. And once again, I'm just refilling my popcorn jar that I keep up here with large bags from the basement. I store those popcorn bags. I've divided it up and put it in a plastic bin so it is sealed and safe in the basement. I don't know about you, but sometimes we just put off these chores that really don't take long. I had been looking at the crumbs and things on these jars for far too long. And when it's done, it feels so good to just have a simple project like this crossed off your list. Here's an up close look at the finished shelves if you want to see everything on there. Some homemade croutons, and again, all those crackers. It's nothing fancy, but this is our working pantry, and this is what we use regularly. Those are quick oats and old-fashioned there too. And then on the bottom shelf, we have the pasta and the grains and rices there, as well as some of those snacks that I had mentioned that we use and eat occasionally, and the popcorn and hot chocolate. And that section is finished. Now we're going to go over to what I call my kitchen pantry. This is just a small shelf within our kitchen. It's not huge, but it does have some nice sturdy shelves, and this is where I store everything that we are using on a regular basis. Now, I do have a larger stockpile in my basement, and we can talk more about that. We will talk more about that. You can see all of that in another video too. But what I do is the things that I keep in my basement, I then bring up and replenish in this kitchen pantry so I can use those things. And that's what you're going to see right now. I've brought up a bunch of things from the basement stockpile, and I'm just reorganizing and restocking and rotating through everything here. I'll check some expiration dates and just get everything in good working order. As I'm doing that, I want to go back and tell you a little bit more of our story about why I became a Christian mom who stockpiles. I was a teacher and taught for 5 years before marrying my husband in 2009, and then we were both Lutheran school teachers. We didn't make a lot of money, but we had enough to cover our bills and pay for what we needed. It really is a ministry of Lutheran school teaching in a parochial Christian school, and we believe in it wholeheartedly. In 2014, our son Nathan was born, and I started staying home part-time, just teaching music 2 afternoons a week. And then in 2015, I did become a full-time stay-at-home mom. I remember very clearly when we went to our tax lady that year. Because we are church workers, we have to file some special things on our taxes. And our tax lady asked us how hard it had been. She said when looking at our taxes, our income had dropped 46% over the past 2 years from when we were both teaching to when I became staying home. And we explained we were still pinching pennies and living frugally, but no, it wasn't as hard as it seemed. As we started thinking about it more, though, we were a little confused because it doesn't make sense. It was contrary to logic, and the numbers proved that. But we had faith that God would provide for all our needs, and He did. He continues to do that. It's just like Matthew 6 says, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they?" I need that reminder constantly to not worry. You see, we believe sincerely in being good stewards of the gifts God has given us. We live within our means, we tithe, we save for big purchases, we don't have debt besides our mortgage, we budget, we make tough choices and hard sacrifices. It takes us longer to complete projects and meet financial goals now, and yet we work diligently and live responsibly with what we've been giving. We are not sitting around blindly expecting God to cover all our needs. We know we have a God-given responsibility to provide for our children, and that is what we are doing. I share all of this to encourage you, because if you are feeling overwhelmed and don't see the logic of your finances, know there are others in that same situation. We as Christians are called to live by faith. 2 Corinthians says it perfectly, for we live by faith, not by sight. Faith trusts and clings to what God has said and done and is doing. Now, if you have debt, I know everything seems harder. My heartfelt advice is to work diligently at paying off that debt. Remember, sometimes it means we have to do things we don't always want to do, whether it's cutting certain expenses or taking on additional part-time jobs. It's true of anyone living on a part-time or a tight budget. There are weeks when I am tired of parenting alone because my husband works long hours for us. And there are days when I feel overwhelmed trying to be a wife and mom and run our household and juggling many different part time jobs here on YouTube and my website and Etsy. It's hard, but yet it works. And we have faith that God will give us the strength we need to do those things to take care of our family. If you're considering the switch to one income but can't get the numbers to line up perfectly, have faith. Look at the numbers carefully, cut expenses, adjust your budget, pray about it, but have faith that God will provide. If your income has suddenly been cut and you're unsure of what the future holds, know that none of us do. We only know that God is faithful. Find the practical and immediate ways you can cut expenses and know you are not alone in this struggle. Make the tough choices and hard decisions, but then walk by faith. Life isn't easy, but God never promised it would be. When faith and logic collide, we have to make the choice to live by faith. I'm going to finish up just putting the last things here, canned tomatoes up, straightening things up. It's amazing. Again, it's a simple task, but it just feels good to have everything reorganized and grouped and restocked in this pantry, whether it's the canned goods or the applesauce cups I'm using in lunches. All of those things are now restocked on my shelves, and I can also see in the basement where my gaps are. Now we're going to go to the last section in my kitchen pantry. It's these little shelves that I have converted to food storage. It's a mess because it's boxes and kids' things, and it really needs to get cleaned out. So once again, with this section, I'm just going to start taking everything out. I'm going to pull it all out and just try to reorganize what I have here. Some things like this Kilwins bucket here, this is where I store our extra chocolate and candy just to keep it safe, whether it's for baking. There are some chocolate chips in the bottom and other candies I've gotten at a good deal. But I'm just going to pull everything out. You can see we have some kids' things in those bins. It's where they keep their paint and their Play-Doh, all of those things. Those animal crackers were getting stale, so actually I did throw the last bit of those away. And those canning mixes for pickles will go downstairs with the canning. But I'm just going to pull everything out and get it organized and straightened up so I can actually see what I have. So if we backtrack again to my story, when I was staying home as a Christian mom, I made it my job to start stretching our grocery budget. I needed to make every dollar count, every penny count. Need to get more crackers there. And as I was doing that, I started really paying attention to all of the sales. And with those sales, I realized I could make our money go a lot farther. If I was buying our pasta when it was half off, I could basically buy twice as much as the regular price as long as I waited for the sales. So I started really intentionally paying attention to the sales and stocking up every time I found a sale. I shopped at our local grocery stores, mostly at Meijer and Kroger, a lot at Kroger. I did a little bit of Aldi and Walmart shopping. I did some CVS shopping. Wherever I could find the deals was where I went. I have always been a frugal shopper, and I like the challenge of stretching our money. That was originally why I began writing my website almost 15 years ago now, was that I wanted to help encourage other moms to save money. And so this was a chance to live out everything that I've been doing and share all those experiences. The more I shopped the sales, the more I was amazed at how quickly I was filling our pantry with food at a lot better prices than paying full price. So I made it my goal to pay full price as little as possible. Sometimes you have to go out and you have to buy your milk or your eggs or certain things at full price, certainly. But the more things you can buy on sale, the further your budget goes. And this was really how my stockpile started growing, by shopping all the sales and adding to our pantry. Time to put everything back in And you can see it looks so much better. This really only took a couple minutes of straightening things up. I don't know why I push things off as long as I do sometimes, but oh, it feels good when it is all done and organized again like this. I'll put just the last couple things back here, stacking up crackers and getting it all in as neatly as I can. We'll see how long it stays this way, but that feels so much better to have that part done. All right, let's take a look at the finished pantries, how everything is reorganized, nice and neat so I can see what I have. This is the bottom shelf I didn't show you earlier. I have things stored in just a couple tins to keep them safe. This little metal tin is all the little bags of chocolate chips. And then I have a big Kilwins bin here, food safe bucket of the large bags of chocolate chips from Sam's. It can fit 3 of those, as well as oatmeal is in this other tin. I dump it out of the containers and put it in large gallon bags to store more of it that way in the bin. So those things are all sealed tightly on the floor, and everything else is reorganized. I hope you enjoyed coming along with me today and again hearing a bit of my story about why I began to stockpile as a Christian mom. It is just something that has continued to evolve. It is something I love to encourage other moms to do. So if you are interested in learning more about that, please join me here, and I will definitely be sharing more in the future because I think having a stockpile is one of the best things you can do for your family. Everyone's stockpile will look different, but everyone can and should build a stockpile on a budget. Thanks so much for joining me today.